timeless treasures. In every time there is a lesson to be learned. In every time there is a treasure to be earned. Hello and welcome to Timeless Treasures with me, Captain Timeless. We're here in Hawaii with Kuaika Jendrish, who I want to introduce to you, who's been working for 40 years in the movie industry. Kuaika, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Alooooha.
Thank you very much. Or as you say here, mahalo.
Yeah, oi.
Mahalo.
No, how are you?
Oh, I'm very good, thank you. And how are you?
Kuaika, you know.
Sounds good to me. So,
I don't live in the house of singing bamboo, but my house is still good anyway.
That's lovely. Beautiful. So, Kuaika, tell us a bit about yourself. So, you've been 40 years in the movie industry, is that right?
Well, born in 1953, the romantic era of Waikiki,
Aye.
post-war. Growing up in that post-war bloom, which a lot of America was in,
Yeah.
was a happy time. Time of families. So, as far as the film industry, it was transitioning from mostly all film to television.
Right.
The television was, as far as the studios were concerned, they were almost like a threat to the movies. But everything evolved along and it made many good. Hawaii's movie industry started in 1926. Paramount Pictures brought The White Flower. So every few years, Hawaii's movie industry, all the way up to the 70s, was like, you might see a Hollywood studio come here every 2 or 3 years and make a movie. Some of them were of the genre of the romantic South Seas tale. Some of them were World War II films. And some were like detective shows. Like in 1951, 2 years before I was born, John Wayne starred in a movie about, how they thought enemies, communist spies were influencing, politics in America and Hawaii. So the detective series was always around with Charlie Chan. Remember him? The Chinese detective?
Aye, that I do.
Yeah, I think they made some movies of that here. And why they never continued it is they could have made a lot of nice film with Charlie Chan. But, of course, our modern Chinese actor was Jason Scott Lee, who portrayed Bruce Lee. And he helped the film industry. And he was interviewed by... So, we come all the way up to the late 60s, and who arrives on the scene but the former star, the famous Western cowboy star, who's in the Cowboy Hall of Fame, Jack Lord.
Jack Lord.
But some of you other people who don't watch cowboy films, he played a CIA agent in the first James Bond film, Dr. No.
James Bond.
Jack Lord. So he came to Hawaii in the late 60s, and he wanted to make a detective series in which Hawaii would be a co-star. Hawaii and many of its people would be a co-star of that. So I was young. At that time, we were teenagers going through life and transitioning from one thing to another. Okay, some of my friends would tell me, oh, you're like a bouncing ball. What are you going to be in next? And in hindsight later, we realized that, that's what that part of life is all about. You got to get around and learn about things and try things, and so we were transitioning from one social scene, from one religion, from one. So I was like a teenager, sometime a juvenile delinquent. Not too bad, just run away from home. And so that's when my dad and them were working on 5-0.
Oh.
And but praise the Lord, later on I would mature enough so that I was able to, after a few semesters of college, I was actually able to get into the film industry. So I was a referral in 1978.
1978.
Right? Would you like to direct any more questions on that?
So did you take part with your dad in any of the Hawaii 5-0s?
No, I never worked with my dad.
You never
I was
worked
working
with your
with
dad?
a separate. My dad was in another department.
But you met Jack Lord.
Oh yeah, everybody would meet Jack Lord. So if he worked on the show, you would automatically meet him.
And you said before that Jack Lord was a very important person here for Hawaiian movies, is that right?
No, well, he was the star of the show. He
But
was the top star.
For Hawaiian movie production, he was a catalyst, right?
Okay, he's the one who brought our modern TV and film industry here to Hawaii. He helped finally they moved around a few times in the first few years. They finally moved to a diamond hand. And they used some old National Guard buildings for studios and workshops for the carpenters and all that. So, so they were finally at their current location where the film studio was, at 18th Avenue.
So you ended up working there yourself. What were some of the movies you worked on? Because you did some work with Magnum PI, right?
Well, I would like one more thing to say about Jack
Oh,
Lord.
yeah. Oh, please do.
He was a very strict person. He helped run the show along with the producers. You have a show and you have production managers and you have accountants and some of the other producers. So, they're around here and there, and they want to make sure that their money is being well spent.
Aye.
So, on 5-0, we had this accountant who acted like a production manager, but he would always talk to you and tell stories. But Jack Lord, he was very strict. He didn't want noise, no talking on the set. And if people really screwed up, they would hear about it for some reason. If they caused a problem. There was some stealing going on.
Aye.
That's just common in Hawaii, Pacific. Magellan found that out. But he finally landed on the Pacific.
Right.
So, but Jack Lord basically was a very nice man. He invited people to the rap parties that were held perhaps every week or every other week. He was kind to us, family members. I used to see him at the supermarket, him and his wife. Him and his wife lived at the apartments near Kahala Hilton, down by the Waialae Country Club. And they would come to the grocery and they would always greet you, and he would ask me how my father was. He was a nice person. And he founded our film industry. Modern one.
That's quite impressive. So,
but you want me to tell you some of the other shows I was on?
yes. So, what movies or programs did you work on yourself?
Well, my first movie was right near 78 when I first got in.
Yeah.
Do you remember Donnie and Marie Osmond?
I do.
Okay, they came here and they made a movie called Going Coconuts.
Coconuts.
Going Coconuts.
Going coconuts. Oh, I never heard of that.
And it was just a comedy show.
Ah, right. Okay.
Often different TV series would come, travel to Hawaii on a vacation, and they would make one episode, 1 hour long show in Hawaii. So we worked on some of those, like I Dream of Jeannie. Before I got in the film industry, they came here and made 2 very nice. Barbara Eden, Larry Hedman. They made 2 excellently written shows, one on Kamehameha and one on Island Life. And some shows are so sensitive now of being politically correct, and they shouldn't be. Hollywood was never like that. They would, if they needed to change a story, they would change it. So that's why all this controversy on making a movie about Kamehameha is unfortunate, because they should just do it. They shouldn't, stop what they're doing because community protests or,
So one of the biggest ones you worked on was Magnum PI. Is that right?
Right.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? About what you did, what experiences really impacted you?
Well, that's the
life?
typical detective, police type of show.
Aye.
With a crime drama or mystery type thing to be solved. From the beginning of the show to the end. So that was very good. The people were very nice, and I had a wonderful time working on that. It was a lot of hard work. We had to build sets. We went to build sets onto the stage. When sets are finished, we take them down. We make new sets. Sometimes we go on location to do location sets. They went all over the island to different places. So,
But you worked on bigger movies as well, like Jurassic Park. I see you've got something there from the production there. Do you want to show us that and give us a bit of a...
Just like every movie, they give you a lot of handouts. This is soul music, and this here.
So what did you do with Jurassic Park?
I was a greensman.
Ah, so you were in charge of all the plants.
I wasn't in charge. I was a member of the crew.
Member of the crew.
And we all helped each other.
Aye.
And I was a rather small guy. So sometimes the plants were huge.
Aye.
And I know some of the drivers would say, they wish I was bigger. But they would always help us with the plants, loading onto the truck, off. In the movie industry, when we load trucks or offload them, we always make use of forklifts and stuff. Things that make the job easy. Like the back of the truck has a tailgate, right? So, whatever you can do, we have hand trucks. Now the greensmen have these huge hand trucks that are specifically designed to carry plants, and they have things they've invented in Hollywood, like a wheel, a jack with wheels that you put on one end of the wall, and then another one goes on the other end to make to move the wall. So anyway, this is a very amusing thing. It says, director Steven Spielberg, Universal City Studios, and Hamlin Entertainment. In the back is a cartoon. You cannot leave the table, young man. He's talking to his dinosaur son. Until you've eaten all your vegetarians.
I want to show that to the viewers there. Here we are. And so they gave you this, did they? As crewmen.
Oh, you always got handouts. And on any show, even a TV show, they would produce about 4 sets of the script. And one was yellow, one was pink, one was green, one was blue. Those were the revisions. I think the blue was the final copy. They always made revisions in the script.
Right.
All the key people would get this. Like, I was only usually a laborer, one of several laborers. I wasn't on the list to get stuff, but the people who were on the list were always leaving their things all around, and we were the guys who had to clean everything up. So we would always get tons of scripts, tons of all kind of papers and souvenirs. And every time a show ended, they would have, they would have a sale, and where the cast members get first crack at the sale before other people are let in, members of the public.
Right.
They would advertise these sales to the public. And but the first day or so, the crew would be able to go. And you get clothes, you go through the wardrobe. Every show, they have extensive wardrobe. All you need to do is look at the Carol Burnett show. Every night she comes out in a different dress. And it's a fabulous dress. And that is an example of the wardrobe department. Who could better exemplify a wardrobe department than Carol Burnett? Now, of course, Lucille Ball, who was even more famous than she was, who worked for Universal Studios a lot. And her wardrobe people, they're famous in the industry. There's some names in the industry which are famous, and are people I respect, But unfortunately, as time goes on, and as even actors would agree with me, like the 2 actors who well, that's a long story of the movie industry. I better not get into that just yet. But they would agree that the moral character of movies is slowly going down.
Right.
Yeah. Louis B. Mayer, the famous head of MGM Studios, always said, a good movie comes from a good book. I mean, he might not have said it always in that way, but that's exactly what he meant. So they would take good classic literature, they would make good movies out of it,
Aye.
So, and of course, in the days of the big movie studios, 20s, 30s, and 40s, the studios owned the actors. They were under contract to the studio.
Right.
They couldn't break those contracts.
Aye.
But as television and other things began to go in to cut the studio's profits, like the law that said the studios couldn't own their movie picture theater chains anymore. The television was really hurting the studios.
Aye.
So the studios got to the point in the 70s where they were really hurting. these studios like 20th Century Fox, Universal, MGM, they had huge backlots where they had, villages. They had cities and they had places where you go and film movies, and as they had economic trouble, sometimes like MGM sold off part of its backlot to make housing development.
Aye.
So later on, the actors came back who were no longer under contract to these failing studios, and they would help save the studio by investing their money into the studio.
Right.
Like Warner Brothers. Thinking of the two actors who bought that. And they actually put money in and saved Warner Brothers. And of course, Warner Brothers is famous for the Warner Brothers themselves.
Aye.
And a lot of these, some of these guys were, they were movie actors. They had moved from New York. So I could go on and on. Do you have any other directed questions?
Yes, so what I wanted to ask you was, of all the movies, all the programs which you've worked on yourself, which one did you enjoy the most? Which one sticks out the most as the one you enjoyed the most overall? Had the most impact on you? Which one can you think of? And why?
Well, I enjoyed the Disney movies that were made at Kuaika Ranch, like Mighty Joe Young, and there were several of them. I really enjoyed working on Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Which was made right at Pearl Harbor on Fort Island. We actually used one of the old aircraft's hangars that was actually bombed by the Japanese.
Oh.
Fort Island is full of historical. One side of the island, you can see on the old runway, you can see all the bullet holes from Japanese planes. Starting the runway, But coming to my mind right now, don't forget the name, Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman. They were the two actors who helped to save Warner Brothers.
Oh, Warner Brothers.
And
Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman.
Clint Eastwood would tell you about Hollywood's moral decline.
Right.
And how he thinks, even people like Mel Gibson. And if Hollywood would get back to their old formulas.
So part two, we're here with Kuaika Jendrish, who worked in the movie industry here in Hawaii for 40 years. We'll continue on this interesting interview, where you're hearing 40 years of experience. So the next question we want to ask you, Mr. Kuaika, is what was the movie or program that you worked on that was the most troublesome for you? The one which you look back and you say, I didn't like that movie, I didn't like that. Why?
Do you mean in hindsight?
Aye. Well, in our kind of work, there's always those times when it's good and bad. What was the bad time? What was a bad movie?
The number one candidate for pretty bad film was the movie Lost.
Lost.
Because first of all, it was one of 3 pilots that were being made at the same time. It came out of being a pilot. And there were 2 other pilots that other crews were working on. And we were almost like all competing. And we sort of didn't think pilot, a movie about a plane that crashed on a remote island, we didn't think that would really make it too well, but it did. It was the one which made it. So, first of all, the plot of Lost, I mean, it was just like an unrelatable fantasy. I mean, what would you relate it to? I mean, okay, there were people who liked it, people who didn't really like it. I sort of really didn't care. But the effect of loss on the television industry here in Hawaii was that they came in and they were trying to divide up our local union. They were trying to set us against each other. You know, and they wouldn't hire like the head construction coordinator here. They went around. Some of our people, they brought in their own, and
So you could say they were quite divisive in their actions.
they sort of were. That to me was when a lot of our trouble started. With that. They would want to get some of their relatives working. Relatives of the production. And so yeah, they brought in people, and so like the construction coordinator who worked for many years. He was the construction coordinator of Magnum PI. He had to work only as a carpenter. That show. Okay, part-time carpenter.
Part-time carpenter.
So some people were really demoted.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But there was a lot of bad feeling, and then different people got in different jobs, and it really wasn't their job. They didn't have the seniority to go to that job before other people who had more seniority than. Anyway, it was all a negative kind of experience.
Right.
But may I say this at this time, that to people who live born and raised in Hawaii, who live here, and what we really know is that when a movie production comes down from Hollywood or some other place, and I could give you a few examples, but remind me to do that. Depending upon how nice the crew was, like, we would have a great time. The crew was really nice. They treated people here well. Or sometimes the crew was nasty. You know, like I remember one movie. I think it was Roseanne O'Donnell. They made a movie, Exit to Eden. It was about some kind of. We made it on the island of Lanai. It was about some kind of maybe it was a retreat for people, a health retreat, but it was more on the X-rated side. You know, it was a kind of retreat where you might be able to fool around with somebody or something, you know, that kind of thing. The people in that show, they just weren't nice. They weren't a good group of people. They didn't treat you wrong, right? They're constantly complaining about longer hours and cutting the crew, and you know, they were more concerned about money, you know, the cost of it. You cannot go to another place like Hawaii and act like that, and the way you're treating people.
Yeah.
You know, if you come to Hawaii, you gotta treat people nice. You can't be a bunch of grumps and stuff, you know. So the whole point of it is, you have wonderful crews who come from Hollywood and they treat everybody nice. That's the best formula. When you have a crew that comes here, a company that comes here, and they don't have nice, they make problems, you're not going to be remembered well. I'm just going to say a good riddance. You know.
Good riddance, John. Off the plank with him.
That goes for you pirates. Goes for you pirates too.
Well,
You better treat us nice. So I want to know, how long am I going to be held hostage?
well,
When am I going to be set free?
just a couple more questions for you, if you
Okay.
don't mind. So you're talking about visitors coming here and then being real rude and that. What kind of things have you seen change in the Hawaiian movie production over the years? I mean, 40 years, you're talking about a long time. It's
Well-
had its ebbs and flows.
In our
But
day,
no.
in our day and age of the 20th century, 21st century, we live in a time of constant technological improvement. So you always have one effect on movies is, you know, Hollywood is going to use the latest improvements. You know, they have new type of cameras that you actually wear on you. You know, they have all kind of new things. Like, they went from film to digital, right? And all these things. So technological improvements bring, they add to a more positive effect on the film. A lot of companies, they want to meet the needs of the food. They have good craft service, you know what that is? Craft
No.
service is the guys who supply the water, coffee, snacks. And it's gotten really elaborate. Okay, I did craft service on one of my movies that I did, Uncommon Valor, 1983, with Gene Hackman,
Oh.
Patrick Swayze, and several other actors. And the production manager was an older guy. He gave me a certain budget, and one thing I really had, I would have water, coffee, and drinks. But one thing I did too much of is I had a lot of granola bars. And I got real bad feedback from the community. Like, I never want to see another granola bar in my life. You know. But I told the production manager, you know, I said, I need to get some other things. And he said, just don't worry about it. He would always shrug it off and say, just keep doing what you're doing. You know. Everything worked out all right.
So I mean,
But-
right.
Anyway, technology and, well, there's things that happen in the world. Like when COVID came along, it really affected
Aye.
very badly in the movie industry and
Aye.
everything else. So, there's things that happen outside. I remember when they had 9/11, there was like a feeling of paranoia around the nation. You know, you're scared, especially when you're not working. So, right around that time when we got our first job, and we were working, we all felt so good. We had a solidarity to be glad. You know, because sometimes movie industry in Hawaii is moving fast. But
Right.
lately,
Boom and bust. Aye.
okay, but we're just getting over a period of about over 20 years where they've been working on, they've had several series here at the same time.
Like, give us an example of what they do.
What?
Give us an
I was
example.
retired already. Like NCIS,
NCS.
Hawaii,
NCIS Hawaii.
and the new Magnum, the new series, like Magnum, the Next Generation.
Never seen it.
Hickey Baby's son and grandson. You see, they were both from Yorkshire,
From Yorkshire. Ah,
and they had Doberman puppies, by the way. You know, in other words, these were. It's just like Star Trek. You know, they made another series or a sequel. So these were the original 5-hour Magnum PI, but they were new, updated, next generation, right? So they've had a good spell of movie production going on. And it's just come to an end. There is no movie production now. They're all out of it. And the state legislature did not pass the bill to give to increase the tax rate for projects coming in. The local movie industry, you know, like the actors, extras, Screen Access Guild, the Teamster drivers and the technicians, all those stuntmen, they were all lobbying the state to pass a better bill giving more tax breaks to coming projects, new movies and stuff. The legislature didn't pass it. He said the tax breaks you have now is not enough. So they're all. The movie industry right now, as of May 2025, is sort of down in the dumps. I have plenty of other stories to tell you. What other kind of questions would you like to ask me?
well, just the papers you've got with you now.
Yeah.
You effectively you saved the Hawaiian movie production, right?
No, well, I helped. Other people did things too.
Right.
I want to make it quite clear. I was a person who always did like a log or a diary. And somebody told me when they were reading my log that I took credit for the whole kid in caboodle.
Right.
And they said, Kuaika, what do you say? I did this and I did that. You worked with other people to do that. You were part of a crew.
Right.
And that's exactly what I was. Okay, even when we had to go into our political process and write testimony, I wasn't the only one doing it. There were other people who were doing it, right?
Well, if you say so.
I wasn't the sole one. So I would never say, oh, I helped save the movie industry. I would never put it like that. Mr. Pirate, whatever your name is.
Whatever you say, Kuaika.
Don't treat me so roughly.
So
Tell your bodyguards to handle me softly. I'm a great actor.
I will. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the viewers now?
I
Before
would.
we close?
What about this? Can I talk about it?
Tell the viewers about that.
This is a testimony because I just happen to live in the same district where the studio is. Okay?
Aye.
And one of the main opponents of the studio was the professors and some of the students at the nearby community college who felt that the studio was taking up part of their campus. And then other people like the Outdoor Circle and so-called conservation groups claimed that this studio wouldn't help protect the sanctity of Diamond Head and all this. And actually, the studio was a perfect complement. So as a lifelong resident, as a student at the college, which I was, as a longtime Hawaiian sort of conservation activist, who I was trying to promote native Hawaiian plants, and as a worker in the film industry, from those four perspectives, I wrote this testimony saying how the film facility would be a good thing. It wouldn't be a bad thing. And I actually went to each council person And I met with them and I lobbied for the studio in person.
What was the date of that?
Yeah.
What date was that? What year?
That was around 89, around that time.
Wow.
Should be
So
right
think
there.
of all the movies that have been made here, and it's all because you and your friends got together. You said no.
And I never really got any credit for this. And later on, I was in Hollywood style. The problem with working in the film industry is that a lot of people who work there, they want their young relatives. They said, wouldn't it be nice if my nephew or my son worked in the job he has?
Aye.
They're always eyeing up your job for one of their relatives. It's so much bad politics in the movie industry. And I had top seniority, and eventually, they got their way. Some of us were laid off. But other thing about the movie industry, if you're laid off from one job, you can always go work on another job. See, it's like that's not the end of the world. Like, if I'm laid off from the TV series, I can go work on the stage. They have a lot of Broadway shows and Hawaii Opera Theater. Our union also works on stage. So that's very different than movies. Or television. Television, movies, and stage are all different. Movies is a one-time thing. Might take a year to make. But usually on movies, everybody gets along better. Because it's not like the same old day in, day out, like a TV series.
Aye.
Does that explain anything, sir?
Aye. That does.
What? Do you have other questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Kuaika, for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Cool. And there were just so many shows we made. And could I close by?
Please do.
There were shows that we had from other areas rather than Hollywood. One time, the government of Belgium came. They wanted to do a movie on Father Damien. So they set everything up, and they would fly some crew members on the weekend from Oahu to Kalapapa, the north part of Molokai Island. And then after a week of work, they would fly us back home for the weekend. Friday, we'd have to go there Sunday night and catch our plane back. But we made sets there, and so they made their movie. It took about a month. And then there was a British company that came. They were old. They'd worked on so many movies in Britain, like Pinewood Studios. They came here to make the movie about Princess Kaiulani. So we worked with them. The head of the construction was British, filmmakers. So it wasn't all Hollywood productions. There were other companies that came. They do, they are competing with Canada. Canada has its own industry, even though they're in the same union as we are. Our union covers Canada. It's a different company, different country, and all that. So I'm retired now, but I tell people, you know what? Now that I'm retired, but I'm going to keep being creative. That's what it's all about with humans. The good Lord above has given us talents.
Aye.
Within our being.
Yes.
All of us have talents.
Aye.
I believe everybody's an artist.
Aye.
So we need to find our talent and keep being creative to make the world a more beautiful place. for us, our family, and our friends, and everybody else. Does that sound good to you?
Aye, it surely does. Well, thank you once again. It's great. And thank you for watching too. And if you want to buy any of Kuaika's movie memorabilia, you can go to our website, which is in the link down below, and you can see Kuaika's personal collection, which you can purchase and own a bit of music, movie history. Thank you for joining us, and we'll just say goodbye now. Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha, aloha.
David,
Kuaika.
thank you for thinking of me to do this interview. I appreciate it. And since I worked 40 years, and I have some memories to share with everybody. And I'd like to give you this wonderful Hawaiian kukuina lei. Kukuina lei is a lei of memory. Share our memories. To think the time you spent in Hawaii.
Mahalo. Aloha and mahalo. Thank you, Kuaika.
Amen. You're welcome.
Forever is forever. Forever is forever.